Hello. Oh, manage participants. Admit. See waiting room. 2 people have entered the waiting room. See waiting room. Admit, admit, admit. I didn't know that I had to do a waiting room. Hello, everybody.
Better.
You can hear me?
Yeah, let me make some adjustments on my volume.
Okay.
Okay. Hey, Donna.
Hi. How are you guys?
Good.
Doing
How
well.
about you?
Good.
I see a Galaxy S8. Would that happen to be Sherry?
I see that I have to be admitting people, and I don't know why that's the case, but we will see how it goes. All right, good. Anyway, let's get started. Welcome. This is
Slight left towards your left. Turn.
I'm hearing what sounds like GPS instructions. I am not sure what's going on. Is anybody
like a television.
does anybody have a TV going on in the background or some kind of sound going on in the background?
I think it's whoever's dialing in from their phone from a 720, but I think they just muted.
Okay. All right, we'll see. All right. So much for getting a smooth start to our online meetup. This is AsyncTask Deep Dive, and it's associated with the Udacity Grow with Google Android Intermediate course for 2018, early 2018. And I'm Barry Bird. I don't work for Google. I work for Udacity. Actually, I work for Drew University in Madison, New Jersey, but that's beside the point. We have a guest mentor today. I am going to not try to butcher his name and instead refer to him as PK. I've been given permission to do that. He will introduce himself in a few minutes when he starts telling you about async tasks. He'll also take questions during his talk, and he'll take questions after his talk. So any questions that you have, feel free to ask. And let me just make a few announcements before we get started. First of all, what I want to do, because I want to make this look exciting, is I want to share the screen that I have here. And the sharing that I'm going to do is, come on. Can you see my screen of any sort? What can you see?
The challenge scholarship recipient logo.
Oh, good. That's exactly what I wanted. Okay, cool. That's just kind of the logo for the course that that this meetup is associated with. We will be recording this session, and I'll be posting it on YouTube after the session is over. The reason I say we'll be recording it is if for some reason you don't want people to know that you're on it, let me know. If you do want people to know that you're on it because you need an alibi for some crime that you have been accused of, let me know about that also. Okay. The other thing I want to do is share a URL or two with you. And here it is. Now, you should be able to see, to be notified via email about future online meetups. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm doing more than one of these meetups, and PK is graciously helping me out with them. If you want to be notified of other meetups that we're doing associated with the Udacity Grow with Google course, then just visit the URL, tinyurl.com, Android or Udacity meetups, and put your name and email address there and any other preference that you have, and then I'll be able to email you when the next meetup and subsequent meetups are scheduled. Also, you can direct message me on the Android Intermediate Slack group at bBird. And Scott, do you want to just chime in and say a word about your ongoing Hangouts? I put the URL there also.
Yep, we are meeting. Well, basically what happens is sometime around 9 or 10 in the morning, usually if I'm on, I will just start up a meeting. And I leave it going all day and usually into the evening. I'm only working a little bit part-time right now, so I'm putting all my time into this. And anyone who wants to is welcome to come in. When people come in, sometimes we go over things that a lot of us have already finished, but could use some refreshers on, such as AsyncTask or Recycler View, things like that. And we help each other out. It's kind of nice because a lot of times other people will catch things that you miss, and you catch things that they miss. And the ability to share screens like Barry's doing right now allows you to take a look at somebody else's code, and you can even take control of their mouse and keyboard and type it in and say, no, it needs to be like this, instead of trying to describe it and driving yourself crazy. So that's pretty much it.
So if you're interested in joining an ongoing Hangout that Scott's running, then visit zoom.us/join. And the meeting number is 659-219-4465. Right, Scott?
That's right. And one other thing, other people can start it up. If I'm not there, you can just go right in, and it's available 24/7.
Wow. Okay. All right. Very good. I think it's time for us to get started then. I'm going to end the share here. Excuse me while I fiddle with, how do I stop sharing? Scott, how do I stop sharing? I see new share, but I don't see how to stop share. Oh, stop share. There it is. Click it. Boom. Okay, do you see me now?
Yeah.
Actually, I see Scott. Okay. Oh, one more note. If you're having trouble with bandwidth, then just turn off your video.
Yeah, that's actually anybody who's not being seen should probably do that. It cuts down on everybody's. And if you're having trouble with only seeing one person, you probably need to turn to gallery view instead of speaker view, Barry.
Okay. How do I do that?
Did you? Okay.
Gallery
Top
view.
right.
Got it. Okay.
And Shelly's having a hard time getting in.
Shelly's in. Shelly, you're there?
Yep, I'm here.
Excellent. Okay. All right. PK, please introduce yourself and tell us everything in the world. I mean, everything there is to know about AsyncTask.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Barry. So I'm a Google certified associate Android developer. I've been working in, so first of all, sorry, my name is Pranit Kulkarni. Some people it's difficult to pronounce sometimes, so I say you can call me PK, that's completely fine. So I've been working on Android since 2015. So I worked on a lot material design, and I keep working all the time. I have my own apps on the Play Store, and right now I'm doing my master's at Stevens Institute of Technology in Computer Science. So yeah, so there's a lot going on right now. I'm also doing an internship in Android, so it's Android all the day. So I will just share my screen, the small notes that I have taken. Okay. That's about me. Okay, so what exactly is an AsyncTask? So people who are really new to this, basically when we need a task that should go in background, and maybe if you need, you can have something on the interface when it's completed. And this task should be independent. You really need something you need to download a large file. So you just want, okay, download this file and let this task be running, independently. We don't want it to interfere what's going on the main thread or on the interface right now. So that's when AsyncTask is really needed. So you can update anything on UI if you want to once it's finished, or if you don't want to, you can just leave it. Anything is fine. We just need to make sure that this is something that will run in background and not occupy the main thread, so that our app's performance is well maintained. And there's like Android says that if you have there's a lot of load on the main thread, or the app does not respond in 5 to 10 seconds, you get the application is not responding dialog on your phone. And the user will get frustrated by this, because he probably will uninstall it, and you'll just lose one user. And that can happen a lot, especially on devices that are like have low RAM or very low kind of processor. So that's the main reason why we will need AsyncTask. Yeah, so when is it
So
needed?
PK, let me just highlight something, or just make sure that I understand. What you're calling the UI thread is the same as what you're calling the main thread. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay.
It's the same. Yeah. So they basically call it UI thread as well, so that's where you actually do the UI work. Like, you're not blocked to do the UI work. So just as I said, you don't want to interrupt the UI thread or the main thread. You need to show the progress. Like, suppose if you are downloading a file or something, like if you have seen File Explorer app or something that downloads big images or big files, you can see that it usually shows the percentage of how much the file is downloaded. So that's something you can do using an async task. Like, while it's being downloaded, you can show its progress as well. So I just made a small code. Before going to the code, I would like to sorry for that. Too many screens. Oops. What's wrong? Sorry about that. What's wrong with this? Oh, sorry. Yeah, so this is an example of AsyncTask that this is from the developer.android.com. I'm purposely using this website because that's where mostly people go through, and that will be easier for someone to refer later. So it's basically a class that we will be using, where we just need to extend the async task in this way. And as you can see that there are 3 parameters that we need to specify. So this is completely upon us what we need to use. So basically these 3 parameters, the first thing is the parameters, like what parameters you need to send while you need on execution. Like, suppose here, as they have shown, that it's a download files task. So you will need different URLs, so that you need to download a file from this URL, and this will keep continuing. So you need to specify that you will be passing URLs to the async task in order to do your work. This integer, the second parameter that we have, which it says it's the progress. So it's basically what units of progress you need to show, like it's 10% done, 20% done, 30% done, or sometimes you may say, you can see some apps show it in the style of text, like almost downloaded, preparing your app or something like that. So in this case, they have used an integer, which is basically just like as you can see here, they are basically publishing how much it's downloaded, like what percentage of the file has been downloaded. So in this method, you can directly show like what kind on your interface. So one important thing you need to know is this doing background function is something that actually runs in a background thread where you can't access anything that's on the interface. Like, you can't access a text view here, you can't access an image view here, or anything that's on the interface, because this runs in the background, which is not directly accessible to the UI thread. So if you need to do anything with the UI, you need to do it in the other methods, which I'll just go in much detail later. The third parameter that you need to pass is like, when you end up with the do in background method, what do you need to return to the on post execute, which is the function, which are 4 steps. This on post execute is basically once you're finished with doing whatever is happening in background, what exactly do you need to pass to it so that you can do work on the interface. Like suppose if um, there is an image file that's going to be downloaded. Once you are done with the image and you need to know what size it is or something like that, you can basically pass a float or an integer or a string to this function, and then you can use it accordingly on the interface. So you don't really need to make everything like global variable so that it's accessible everywhere. So these three are the parameters that you need to specify. If you are not using any of them, you just need to write void in place of it. And this is just one line that actually starts the async task. So here you can't directly access any of these methods like from outside. The async task itself decides when these methods will be called. So you just need to write like initialize it and say execute, and if you have any parameters that are to be passed, you just need to pass them in this way. So yeah, so I just have a small code. Yeah, are you able to see the Android Studio?
I can.
Okay, if anyone has any question or any doubt, please you can interrupt me, because I don't want anyone to just like keep listening and they won't understand anything.
The text is a bit small.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can enlarge it. Yes, you can. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Great.
Okay. So what I did is there is just a small, simple. Yeah. So as you can see, this is just a text, nothing else. And so what I'm gonna do is I have written a small async task. It's a very basic one. So as you can see, these are the parameters that I have used. So I'm not really passing anything to it. I'm not even showing any progress where it's happening. So first two of them are void. Excuse me. But I need to pass a variable, like an integer variable, once I'm completed with this do in background method. So that's why I have used integer here. You need to override the do in background function, which is mandatory. This is where your background, all the background functionality is done, and you don't have access to the UI thread. Like you can't say here like my text dot set text. You can't do it here. So this is a string, but yeah, this is a text view. And if you do this, your app will crash, or it will give an exception that you can't really do that because that's not allowed from this thread. And if you need to do anything before doing background, like if suppose you need to start a progress bar, like a loading icon or something like that, before your background task actually begins, what you can do is you can override on pre-execute, and you can do anything you want to do here. Like if you have to initialize any variable, you need to do anything that should happen before the doing background is called, you can do it in on pre-execute.
So are there situations where you would use on pre-execute that you wouldn't want to do in your main activity from which you called the async task? I'm just wondering a use case for on pre-execute.
Yeah, so if there is something which is private to this class, like suppose this my async task, this has something private like inside it, like a variable, and you need to initialize it, or maybe with something, you know, it can be anything before this doing background is supposed to be done. That's when you will actually need on pre-execute rather than doing it in main activity.
But anyway, what happens in on pre-execute will be executed in the main thread?
Yeah.
Except that it gets to use the variables that are local to my
Yeah. This will work on work on main thread. So suppose if you have a progress bar or something, like the loading icon you will usually see, like Facebook is loading all its posts and you will see a loading icon before that. So that's basically you can do it like, okay, my task is beginning, I want the progress bar to be shown. So it will start animating. It will go here like in do in background, and once it's done, it will go to on post execute. So what I did here is this is not really a very big task, but just for the sake of understanding, what I did is it's 100,000 for loop of that will go on for 100,000 numbers. It will just keep on adding itself, and this return temp basically it passes this value to on post execute. So this integer value that I'm saying is basically passed from do in background. So once I'm done with my background work, I get this value here and I can do whatever I want to on the main thread. So if I remove this, this will be executed here. So anything you need to do, like suppose you need to say that, okay, your file downloading was successful, or if it was not successful, you will get to know here and you can do it on the main thread. So these two functions will work on main thread, on pre-execute and on post-execute. So you can handle image views, text views, any other layouts from these methods, but they won't be accessible from do in background.
Now, will
Yeah.
Android prevent you from running that for loop in the main thread, or would that be?
No, that's you can do it in main thread as well.
Okay.
But what can happen is suppose this is a very big task, okay, and unless you actually like suppose I implemented it directly here. So the lines below the code that is below that task will take a long time. Like unless the for loop is completed, these lines won't be executed. So suppose in place of this, it said like you are downloading a big file or you are connecting to your server, getting some response, parsing your data and something like big things. That's when you really need to implement it in do in background. So now what I have done here is I've created an async task, and dot execute will execute the async task, and the next code I've written is like hello world outside async. So this is not in the async task, so I've written in that way, and this will set text. That's the normal thing. So just run it so that the execution sequence should be understood in async task. That's something initially is a bit confusing.
Before you do that, I have a question about the
Yeah, sure.
do in background. In fact, the
Okay.
whole AsyncTask life cycle, is it incorporated into the normal Android life cycle, and does it survive an application or on destroy? Like if you destroy the application, will this task get destroyed with it? Is this or will it survive, or will it
Yeah.
orphan?
The doing background may survive, but you know this on post execute, you won't have access to your main threading, so these things won't work. So it will be as good as it's killed. But if
So
you have some, yeah,
it will orphan the do in background function. So whatever you're doing will still happen, but it doesn't have the rest of the life cycle to complete its function. So it'll do whatever the background task is, but when it goes to return it to on post execute, that won't exist. So it's just basically an orphan.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically, if you like, you're on a page, it's loading, it's taking a lot of time because of the internet connection or something, and you just press back and go to something else. So the doing background will complete itself, but it will find out that there is no access to the main thread now, and so it will basically end up with that. So as you see,
So why don't
yeah.
we use AsyncTask Loader instead? So we don't have any orphaned tasks.
Yeah, so AsyncTask Loader is also used like when we actually need to notify the user. Like if you, for example, it's a big task, something like you need to load all the applications or you need to count them or something like that from the system. And you need to notify the user once it's done. That's when I guess the async loader comes into picture. But if you probably need a task that is like this is like if you don't even need to notify the UI, AsyncTask is best because you will just say like do in background and you don't really care what will happen later. But if you really need to do something on the main thread, you can use the on post execute.
So this works when, for example, during the run of a, let's see, let me phrase my question. Let's say you're running this async task and you're doing in background and the activity gets destroyed and then recreated. This will still work, but might be a little bit clunky because you'll have an orphan on post execute running. Am I correct?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Maybe we can like try out some things by doing bigger tasks and try it out so that you get to know clear picture, because that's more of what the system will decide.
Yeah, to answer your
Yeah.
question, I think what will happen is, so if you start this background task and it's still running and you destroy the application and start it up again, and that instance of the application starts another background task, then you'll have two running, although only one really will matter for the main thread. So that does leave a situation where you're consuming resources when you don't need to, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do we decide when do we use AsyncTask and when we use AsyncTask Loader?
Okay. I have not really worked a lot on AsyncTask Loader, but as far as I know, AsyncTask Loader is when you really need to notify the user, like, or your app or the user, that you are done with the task. So, like, for an example, you are loading it's your launcher or maybe something like something that you really need to take a lot of information from the system, like the Android system or the phone, and you need to make sure that once it's finished, there should be something like you post a notification on your phone or something. That's when a loader is important. So you can't just leave it finished and you don't notify anything to the user.
AsyncTask Loader is also more complicated to code. So
it's more
complicated. Depending on how nicely what your demands are for what your audience is. If your audience is the entire world, then you might want to look carefully at using AsyncTask, I guess, or be critical of AsyncTask.
Yeah,
just saying.
That shouldn't be a very big task in AsyncTask, like loading from some data and for those things AsyncTask is good because you only care about it when you're actually doing something on the UI or something. The user is on the app and he's just waiting for something. So like here you can see my AsyncTask.execute is actually done before, but still you can see is hello world outside async. That's because it works independently. Like and you can see that I have initialized this variable here as well. Like on post execute, I actually do it like hello world. Final sum is this, but the final sum is not visible to us. Even if I had the set text after the async task was called, because once we say dot execute, this actually does it in its own, like in a different thread. Like the doing background will go and do its work, and it won't really care about what was happening in the on period of main activity.
So can we take a look? I'm scanning now. We've got my text at the top, and we're setting main text equal to my text.
Yeah.
And then, or we're setting main text to display my text. And then can you scroll down a bit here?
Yeah, sure.
And so now we've reset my text, but haven't. Okay, so you haven't yet did main text dot set text. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Just checking here. All right.
Yeah. But like if suppose you Now here also, as you can
Yikes.
see, if I comment this, it will work again differently. So you need to like take care if like you are handling any of the global variables, like these are the global variables here, and if you are handling any of them in AsyncTask, you have to make sure that they are not really in sequential, like in sequential executed in a sequential manner as you do it in a normal thread, like in on create or on create view in a fragment. So you need to make sure that you handle them correctly. As you can see, even now it's not showing what I have done in on post execute, because this was executed before the on post was executed. But now if I uncomment this, now you can see.
So, okay, did that happen right away, or from our point of view?
Yeah,
that
that took like a very small time actually.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, but if you do a big task, like I had to do a lot of things if I had to show a big task, like connecting to a server or something. Mostly like the apps that I used where I had to suppose download some data from a server and then show it on the interface. So that's where I used AsyncTask mostly, because I had to make sure that unless and until I have some data in my hand, I can't show anything on the interface. So till then I would show a progress bar that's basically just says that okay, we are loading something, we are loading some data for you.
Okay, so there's no visible delay as far as we're concerned here with
Because
okay.
because Java is very fast with doing. If this was something like loading an image or something, a big image, it would have taken a bit more time. And if suppose you need so like suppose you need to know if the task is being like what's right now in the task. Sorry, did anyone say anything?
No, my Alexa is.
Oh, okay.
And now she's acting up again since I just said her name. Ignore it.
Oh, okay.
Never mind.
Okay. So the async, suppose if you need to know like what's the status of AsyncTask, like is it still running or is it completed, you can use AsyncTask.getStatus. So this is useful, like suppose if you have 4 or 5 AsyncTasks running at a time, like you said 4 or 5 of them, and you just need to make sure that once all of them are completed, then do something. So in this case, what you can do is you can use get status of all of them, and just from that you can get to know that this async task has been completed or not. So this is useful when you need to do such kind of things like handling multiple async tasks. So that's when you really need AsyncTask.getStatus. You can also cancel an async task by a method which says you can cancel it, and there's a different method that needs to be implemented in an async task to say that okay, on cancel do this. So these are the main methods that you need to handle properly in order to achieve what you really want to. So these two cases are when you really need to use AsyncTask. One is when you don't really care what will happen once you're implementing the AsyncTask. You can say that okay, just ping my server that the app has logged in or the app is now active or something like that, and it's okay if it's fail as well or something like that. Secondly, you need to just download something and immediately show that okay, I'm done with this. These two are the main cases when AsyncTask is used. A loader will, as we discussed, will be needed much like when we really care about notifying the user and you need to do a big task and it's a bit complicated. You need to work more on it and understand how it will deal with the system. So if you have any questions, please go ahead with them. If you feel that you need more depth or anything like you need to see much more detail in code or something, we can maybe talk again sometime. Or if you have any questions, please go ahead with them.
So I do have a question. Is it
Yeah.
easy to show us the use of that first parameter where you're passing a parameter into do in background?
You mean this one?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't want to put you on the spot, but if it's easy on the fly to
yeah, I can try
situation
that.
where you're doing that, that might be helpful.
Yeah, sure. So suppose I make it a string, and now it's saying warning that there's nothing. So I need to make this a string as well. Oh, sorry. I need to make it a string, and suppose I call it name. Let's see. And here you can pass. So basically, when you say execute and print, so like basically this will be passed as a string, and in doing background, since you have specified that a string will be passed to it, you can access it directly saying that, so this will be the name of the array that will be having of the parameters, and you can directly access it by name 0. So like we saw in the official documentation, where's my phone? Okay, anyways, like they pass like 3 URLs. So if I pass like more of them, you basically have a list of names that we have, and we just pass it on, and you can use it in doing background. So just log it so that.
And then you can use that during the do in background to, for instance, count the number of letters or count the number of names or something in this case.
Yeah, you can see here.
There it is.
Yeah. So basically, if you say like, if you do it an integer, you can pass integers to it, and you can use it in doing background. So you don't really need to do like declare anything in as a global variable and eat up some resources unnecessarily. So you can pass some data to do in background if you need. So mostly like when you are doing something like you need to fetch something from a URL and need data, and you just need to pass a parameter to it, like if there is an ID or something that you need to append in a link or something. You can basically pass the ID to it, and you can use that as a link or a URL. And this is something that you need to show progress. Like you need to.
Ben, can you let? I'm sorry. Can you let Brendan in? The
I just did. I have to keep my eye. I don't know why the list of I don't know why people need to be admitted this time, and they didn't last time. I'm going to work on that, but. I have to keep my eye on that list of people who are in the waiting list. So my apologies if you were waiting for longer than you wanted to. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, so that's how you can use
hey guys,
doing background parameters.
Hey, PK, I've got a little bit of a question.
Yeah.
I'm just playing with this. I put together a class AsyncTask extends AsyncTask void.
Yeah.
I've overridden doing background.
Okay.
And I use a string, protect string doing background string. It kicks back at me and says that, what is it? Method does not override, method does not override method from its superclass. It does this as soon as it gives it to a
Can you
string.
share your screen with us, Scott?
Sure.
Yeah, maybe that.
Do I need to do anything in order
Should
to?
I say stop share?
Somebody else has to stop. I can't just take over on this one. It's not mine.
Okay, I'll
So
just say
PK,
stop share so that you
Stop
can.
share. Now Scott will show. Okay.
Yeah.
Get these mechanics down here. There we go. Cool.
Okay, and this is right here. Now
Okay. Yeah, I found it. Why?
I need to stop annotating. There we go.
You're extending
Yeah,
the
because when it was
task with
Yeah, you need to say
The
that.
override is all void. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you can. Yeah, that should be void, and your return should be void as well. No, the return statement.
right,
If
but
if you need to return a string, in the line where you can see like the async task, like the first line, like public class my async task extends async task.
mhm.
So you need to specify like, yeah, the first should be void and the third should be a string.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can
So
you
that right
explain
there.
what those three values
I got
are
it.
in the extend statement? So you said the first one is void and the last one string. But what is that? What does that string represent?
Okay.
The
You need the
input
first.
value.
Yeah. So the first shows like what parameter you're passing to do in background. Yeah. Make it string. Scott. Yeah.
And the second one?
And on the second one is
Okay.
what type of progress you need to show.
Yeah, and the rest of this is I was just goofing off. So.
No, I guess you need.
And the last one?
Yeah, I'll just tell in a minute. The last one is basically what you need to pass from doing background. So here, as you can see, doing background is passing, returning a string. So Scott, what you need to do is in on pre-execute, you should have a string that takes from the doing background.
Okay.
And the parameter, like in on pre-execute.
Right. So I was just trying to figure out why in the world this was doing its thing.
Yeah.
Okay, but now we still need to tweak this, right? In order to get it.
Oh.
Yeah. Like.
Should we get it fully tweaked?
Well, the rest of this file is all notes, so it's probably throwing things.
All
So
right, whatever
I
you
just
guys
want
want
to go back to what you were saying.
Yeah.
Back to what you were saying with the extend statement. The first one is the value you're passing into the async class. The second one is the status, right? And the last one is the type that you should be returning from your do in background.
Yeah.
Right.
So the third is So the third is which will return from the background and pass on to on post execute.
Okay.
Yeah. And the first one is basically what the doing background will take the parameters as. So when we say that my async dot execute and you pass some value in it, they are the values which will be passed to doing background.
Hey, can I just slide in a question here? In the do in background, in the parameter it goes string and then dot dot dot. What does that 3 dot represent?
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess probably that's the syntax that they use.
Okay.
So even like I'm not 100% sure why they are like dot dot dot.
So I can fill that
but
in.
That's I guess it's an array of string values.
Right. If we let's put PK. Let's put your example on the screen, and I can fill in the detail.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So what do we have here? We have string dot 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 names.
Right.
Yeah.
Now dot 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 stands in Java for something called Varargs, which means Varargs. That's one word, believe it or not. And what that means is variable number of arguments. So essentially what Java is saying there, what you're saying by saying string dot 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 names, is that what you're going to pass into do in background is any number of strings, which will then be interpreted as an array of strings.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Let's take
can you input an array? Like, is it?
Yeah, can you just put a square bracket in there instead of the 3 dots?
I've never tried it, but see what he's doing there? Take a look at execute. Take a look at execute.
Yeah.
I mean, when you call the function, can you input an array, or you have like to list all the variables?
We can try. You can try out if the array works.
Let's try it. But you see what he's doing? He can put in 2 parameters there, or 3, or as many strings as he wants, and whatever number he puts in, he can call for names bracket 0 in doing background, or names brackets 1.
I see.
So it gets interpreted as an array in the parameters.
Okay.
Okay. Let's try in execute supplying an array of strings and seeing what it does.
If that works. Yeah, but even I have not tried that. We can. Here you can see.
Yeah, and that's because
Okay. But maybe we can try array as set.
I would feel safer if you just passed in. Yeah, that's it. Just names and see if it helps. If it works.
Let's see if that works.
Looking good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
working.
Okay.
So it's basically when you don't want to have to create an array up in main activity or in the main program, you just want to kind of list them in the execute.
Oh, so you list them, but what that ... does is convert that into a type of an array.
Yes.
And then you can use the array syntax to get information out of that parameter.
Exactly.
That's perfect.
Thank you.
Varargs, it's called.
Varargs.
Yeah, and it can only be the last parameter, as far as I remember, among the parameters in a function.
Right. Got it.
What else have we got? Questions?
Yeah, I just got one more question. So we in the course we looked at async task loaders and AsyncTask.
Okay.
Now AsyncTask loaders, they attach to the life cycle of an activity where the AsyncTask doesn't.
Yeah.
So my question is, when is a suitable time to use AsyncTask and not AsyncTask loaders?
Probably when it's not a very large task, like something that will take a long time, and you don't want the user to keep waiting for it on the screen.
Right.
Or you need something like maybe if you have your server where you just ping on some values. Okay, that's for something for you, and you don't really need to interrupt anything that's going on the main thread, like, or maybe on create or something, and you just say that syntax.execute, and you just want to do what it's doing in background, and you don't even write anything, and on post execute. Even that's the case. Sometimes we need to use AsyncTask. So you just need to do something, and don't really care about what will happen once do in background is finished.
Oh, got it. So for example, like when for example you download this app, right? And then in the background it checks for updates. Is there something that we can use in AsyncTask, because you don't care about on post execute? You just care about the checking part and the doing the background phase.
Yeah, probably. And if you're storing that somewhere, like, yes, there's an update available, and you will show it somewhere else, or you will use the next time the app is. Yeah, you can do that as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. The best thing is you try it on your own and explore things, what's exactly possible, what's not with both of them, and that will help you much more to understand how each of the methods and it will work with an activity or a fragment.
Yeah. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Other questions for PK? All right. Well,
I'm
then,
just trying,
yeah,
I'm
go
just
ahead.
trying to figure out what the second parameter is. By playing around, I've figured out what the first two are, or how they relate to do in background. I just can't figure out the second one.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when you need to use the I'll just show you. Okay, so here you can see they have used the on progress update right here, and they have passed an integer. So that's when you need the second parameter. So basically, from doing background, if you need to show like 30% of the file is downloaded, so you need to call the method publish progress, and the on progress update will be called, which has access to UI thread so that it can show how much.
Oh,
Yeah. So
right,
that's why,
right.
Yeah.
So, for example, if you want to show a progress bar that's increasing and the integer goes between 0 and 10 or something.
Yeah, yeah. As you can see here, like, and you can see like any form of progress in the user interface while the background computation is still executing. That's the main reason why you need the second parameter.
Oh,
And void, I guess,
Yeah.
in this case, well, you have integer in the middle, or in this example, it's integer in the middle.
Yeah.
Which means that you're going to indicate the amount of progress by an integer number. And
Yes.
sometimes you might want to indicate progress by a double
Color.
number or some other kind of way.
Yeah, yeah.
So let me ask this question. So on the on progress update, that that callback doesn't actually get called if you don't call it, right? So for example, if you look at publish progress, if you don't have that line there, then on progress update never gets called, right?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep,
So the methods, that's something that the AsyncTask will do on its own.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me lead on to this question real quick. On the AsyncTask Loader, in the loading background callback, you know how they go. You know how they have a method called deliver results.
Okay. Yeah.
So you call that in order to have the callback being called, right? Does it make sense?
Probably. I'm not 100% sure of the loader, like all the methods. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that has to do with AsyncTask Loader.
Yeah. I guess it's much similar to on post execute, or maybe just like we said, the progress update, like publish progress or something. Yeah. Sorry, I'm not very familiar with like the loader thing. So
okay.
Rather than giving you some wrong information, I would say.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So, are there other questions? If not, then I'm going to try to switch to my screen again with the URL. And everybody hang on for just a sec. Share screen, yes. And boom. And come on, let's go. There it is. Okay. What do you see now? Do you see to be notified via email?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I can see your screen.
Okay, so this is once again telling you, reminding you that if you haven't already done so, then let me know that you want to be notified via email about future Android Udacity meetups that I am running associated with this course. And also, don't forget to say hi to Scott Stoll during his Hangouts by checking out zoom.us/join with the join meeting number 659-219-4465. And that's it. That's what we got for you today. If there are no other questions, I really want to thank, once again, PK for helping us out and telling us all about AsyncTask. And thank all the people who joined this meetup. You're making this a lively conversation and useful to everyone. So please be sure to sign up on the spreadsheet if you haven't already done so. Join us for future meetups. Contribute any ideas that you want to contribute, and we'll see you next time. Thank you all.
Cool. Hey, Barry. Yeah. Sorry. Just want to go back to that message that I sent you earlier. I think it was 2-3 days ago about a project that raised awareness for cancer.
Oh, please talk about it. Do you want to do your video? I can.
Oh no, I don't have any prepared. It's just that I just want to make an announcement that so my roommate is actually running for a campaign that is very it's for a great cause. It's to raise the awareness of blood-related cancers, and his mission is to raise $150,000 by the end of May. And I thought it would be great if we can assist him in developing an app that can push notifications, have a one-tap button that does the donation part. So if anybody's interested, I can post something on the Slack channel. And you guys can check it out. It's we have already 13 people participating. So yeah, if you feel you want to join, feel free, and I'll write the details in the Slack channel.
Do you have the URL handy right now so that you can at least read it out or name it?
Yes, actually I do. I have a Doodle sign up page, and I'll post it in the chat so everybody can see that. Okay, that's it for me, and thanks Barry for allowing me to make this announcement.
Excellent. Any other announcements?
Not that I know of at the moment.
Okay. All right. Thank you again, everyone, and I'll see you next time. I'll arrange another online meetup and
cool.
We'll do it again.
Cool. Thanks, Barry.
Okay.
Thanks, PK. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everyone. Okay.
This is great.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.